Hey guys, we got a lot of great feedback from last video, one of which was to ask Michael to smile a little bit more. One of the topics we felt like was asked about the most was the GLP, so we are going to start with that and try to keep it as concise as possible because there is so much to say. The first thing we need to touch base on is what the GLP stands for. So it stands for glucagon like peptide, and it's important to understand what glucagon does.
So, glucagon is a very important hormone. It is produced by your pancreas, and everybody produces it. Some people produce it more than others. But this hormone, a lot of people just really don't understand it. And, but it is extremely important in regards to weight loss. Number one, it is the most catabolic hormone in the human body. So, it breaks down tissue better than anything. Okay. Number two, it promotes fat metabolization. So it opens the metabolic pathway of lipolysis. So it's breaking down fat to help manage your glucose, to help manage your energy. Okay. Number three is it also helps elevate leptin. And leptin is the hormone that really makes you feel more satiated. So that's going to give you a lot of it's going to curb that appetite. You hear the people talking about the what do they call it, Nicole? What's the sound bite everybody's saying, or the buzzword?
Food noise.
Food noise, right? It's like it calms down the food noise. And that's great, right? Like you don't want to be walking around thinking every minute of your day of what you're going to be consuming. So glucagon really does a great job at quieting down that food noise. And the other thing that it really does, and this is something that, is very important as well, is it reduces or stops protein synthesis, which is muscle growth and recovery. And so it's so great at burning fat, but it's so bad at helping you put on muscle mass. And so that's why we want to talk about it today, because it is an unbelievably good tool to utilize. But if you are not utilizing it correctly, then it can really come back and bite you in the butt.
Yeah, absolutely. We have found one of the strategies to help people mitigate some of the muscle loss that it happens along with taking the GLP is consistent and proper fueling, especially before and after your workout. One of the patterns that we hear often is with the reduction of food noise comes the overall reduction of all food consumption in total. And so I think it's become pretty apparent to people that with fat loss, or I should say scale loss, a good portion of that is muscle. Like I said, it can be managed through proper fueling, but it's important to put those pieces in place to make sure that the weight you're losing is fat pounds.
Absolutely. And so what a lot of people have trouble issues with have issues with on a regular basis is that they're not hungry early in their day. And when you're not hungry early in your day, that is one of the number one indicators of metabolic damage. So if you feel like, oh, I wake up, I really don't have an appetite, I'm just going to fast until 1 or 2, that's awful. That is not what you want to be doing. And so what that will actually do through time is it will increase your insulin and it will decrease your glucagon production. And so this is very, very important because your goal is to not just get your weight off, but it is to keep your weight off. And this is really what will happen. And I want to go down this rabbit hole on glucagon and insulin, but let's talk about insulin really quickly and how it completely differs from glucagon, because it's going to be important to understand all of this. Nicole, so what is the major differences between insulin and glucagon?
Insulin is an anabolic hormone, so I consider it just your overall growth hormone. It grows muscle and it grows fat. And so oftentimes, and then with glucagon being the antagonist of insulin. So oftentimes people hear the buzzword insulin resistant, and what is happening is you're building a resistance to the insulin you're producing, and so you are producing more insulin. In other words, you have a higher capacity to build both fat and muscle. You're growing. Whereas glucagon is your catabolic hormone. So it's helping you burn fat and then also, as we just stated a little bit earlier, also burn muscle. Um, Do you think some people have more glucagon naturally than others?
Yes, some people naturally produce glucagon more than other people. There are some people that regulate their blood glucose on a regular basis from not consuming using glucagon. And there are some people that regulate their blood glucose on a regular basis from not consuming using cortisol. And these are completely different results because they're both regulating, they're upregulating your blood glucose because you haven't consumed. And that is important to drive cellular energy. But if you're producing lots of cortisol to upregulate your blood glucose, then you're going to get fat. If you're upregulating glucagon to increase your blood glucose, you're going to get thin. And so that is why some people that don't eat very much will naturally be thinner, and some people that don't eat very much will naturally be heavier.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think we should touch on a positive of the GLP, aside from it being a great tool to help reduce the food noise. One thing that I've noticed is that it's really helped diminish the desire for alcohol. The byproduct of not having alcohol in your evening is much better, consistent, and quality sleep. If you have a Whoop or Oura Ring or even the Garmin, we all know what better quality sleep consistently can get. So we're hearing a lot that the GLP helps reduce anxiety, the GLP helps improve hormone balance, and in our opinion, it's not necessarily the glucagon like peptide. It's from not dumping a whole bunch of alcohol and calories into that late evening window as a sleep disruptor. Once your quality of sleep improves, the snowball effect is tenfold.
Absolutely. And when you regulate your sleep, you regulate things like cortisol, you regulate things like serotonin, you regulate things like dopamine. And dopamine is kind of that desire hormone, which is going to give you more cravings. And so your overall mood is going to feel a lot better when you're just keeping your blood sugar stable. And that is something that, you know, we hear a saying all the time, I have a gut feeling. And I tell clients all the time is that gut feeling comes from your vagus nerve tying your brain to your stomach. And so when you keep your blood sugar more stable because you're eating consistently, you're hydrating well, you're sleeping well, all of that mental stress and anxiety, it gets dimmed down because you're really regulating your gut. And so we know when we're have a lot of stress at work and our mind's racing, we have a tendency to not be as hungry. And then sometimes when we're eating really bad food, actually it can cause a lot of like mental and emotional anxiety. And that's because the road works both ways, you know? And so if you're eating poorly, it's going to mess up your mind. But if you're really stressed out, it's going to mess up your gut.
Yeah. Why do you think it's a common theme for people to gain the weight back after the GLP?
So the number one reason that most people gain weight back when they use a GLP-1 is it's understanding these two hormones, insulin and glucagon. Okay. And so let's say you have a natural insulin production of here, and then your natural glucagon is down here. And you suddenly introduce its antagonist synthetically, the GLP-1, it will reduce your natural insulin. And as your insulin goes down, that is when your body is really capable of burning a lot of fat. Okay. But if you're not eating, you're not hydrating, you're not strength training, then what will happen over time is your pancreas doesn't have a cutoff switch on how much insulin it can manufacture. It will start to counteract the synthetic intake of the GLP-1. And then you titrate to the next dose and it will catch that. And you titrate up and you keep doing that. And over time, your glucagon is rising, but your insulin's rising with it. And then you come off the GLP-1, your glucagon is 4 or 5 times higher than it was previously. And so not only do you gain the weight back, but your insulin is 4 or 5 times higher than it was previously. So not only do you gain the weight back, but you gain back 10 or 20 pounds more. It comes back with a vengeance. Because remember, Nicole said earlier, insulin is an anabolic hormone. It promotes muscle growth and it suppresses fat metabolization. It is there to preserve tissue. And so if you are consistently malnourishing your body at particular times of your day, especially early in the morning and around training, you're doing lots of high intensity fasted workouts, that's awful. That's one of the major things that's going to facilitate metabolic damage. So you absolutely do not want to be doing that. So that is why people gain the weight back, is because through time their body is adapting to the medication, and then when they come off the medication, now they have a lot more insulin and they gain the fat way faster.
Absolutely. We do believe it's possible to keep the weight off with a proper wean off structure that might be a little bit slower than originally anticipated. In other words, not deciding that one day you're not going to pick up your prescription, or one day you meet your target weight and you're not prescribed anymore, but also through what we said earlier, consistent and proper fueling. Fueling yourself in regular patterns, appropriately fueling before and after your workout, having good breakfast, lunch, and dinner with protein, carbohydrate, and healthy fat goals. It is absolutely possible to keep the weight off. We fully believe how you eat on the medication is how you should eat off the medication. Those variables should be consistent. The
Absolutely.
changing variable should be the dosage of GLP, but the food consumption cannot tick up as the medication dials back.
Absolutely. And you want to get on the medication to reduce your insulin resistance. And if you're continuing to do the exact same things you did prior that created your insulin resistance, and that is not eat frequently, not eat the right times, and not eat in the right combinations, then just getting on the GLP-1 is just going to inevitably exacerbate your insulin resistance in the long run. In the short term, it's going to reduce it, right? But in the long run, it's going to make it worse. And like I said, you introduce it, the insulin keeps matching it, and then you come off, and then the weight comes right back. So we don't want to be doing that. So that is why it is so important to us here at Michael Flores Life Nutrition that we are really getting people to eat in the right frequencies and eat in the right combinations and eat at the right times, because that nutrition is critical to reducing your insulin resistance, to driving better metabolic damage, better metabolic function, and reducing metabolic damage. We want you to be utilizing more fuel efficiently. And if you're restricting eating all the time, you're not going to undo the damage that you did. You're just going to make the damage worse. And I think the thing that is just so crazy to me, and I hear this all the time, is people coming in and going, well, I got on it and it was like, I used to struggle to not eat, and now I struggle to eat. So they've gone from one end of the spectrum to the opposite end of the spectrum. So now they went from being hungry all the time to not being hungry at all. So the insulin is driving up ghrelin,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm. Your appetite
You're,
hormone.
and it's really making you hungry. Okay. So the more insulin you produce to manage your blood sugar, the more ghrelin you produce, so the hungrier you are. It once again, it's counterintuitive, because you think, oh my gosh, well, I'm eating a lot, I should feel satisfied eventually. No, you don't, right? And then glucagon is the opposite, that it's producing leptin, which is your satiety based hormone. And so that is something that is very, very important in appetite management. So Nicole and I tell this to our clients all the time. Your appetite is no indicator of what your body does and does not need nutritionally.
Which is really hard.
It's extremely hard. Just because you're not hungry doesn't mean you shouldn't be eating. And just because you're starving doesn't mean you should be eating. But we want to do this whole intuitive eating kind of methodology. And the reality is it doesn't work. It's not helping you become successful in your long-term weight management goals.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to keep giving you guys some feedback on different topics. You listed so many, and so we have so many to go through. And so we hope to do this a little bit more regular for you. But if you want to leave any more comments on what you'd like to see, we discussed peptides was definitely the second most prevalent comment.
Yep.
What else?
Peptides, NAD, creatine utilization, and obviously we'll hit on those. Those were a lot of that was in the comments, but in the direct messages, the DMs, like it was the GLP-1, and I do think that there's kind of this this overwhelming, concern, or, are people going to judge me if I'm utilizing this? And I do think that there are some people that absolutely need to be utilizing. And I do think that there may be some people out there that are abusing it. But if you want to be successful and utilize it as a tool, you absolutely have to understand how to utilize it correctly. And you need to be talking to your doctor and saying, hey, I'm I'm not hungry. I have no desire to eat. Do I really need to titrate up to the next dose?
Mm-hmm.
Probably
Yeah.
not, you know? And then the titration rates that they're recommending you to come off, they're so fast. Like you need to be coming off of it over 8 to 12 months, in my opinion. I mean, the when you titrate up, it should be slow, and you don't have to go to these large doses. If you are getting the results that you want because you are eating at the right times, you are eating in the right frequencies, you are eating in the right combinations, and you're using the smallest dose, good for you. Because that means you're doing a whole lot right. And that's absolutely what we want to do. And then that is just going to follow with you, when you do come off the medication, and it's going to help you maintain that lower body set weight, that lower biochemical balance, so that you can be successful. And that is what we're here to do. If you need guidance on how to design your meal plan, how to outline it to be successful because you are utilizing a GLP-1, that's great. But guys, people will lose the weight and then they'll come and see Nicole and I, and they'll go, well, I lost 70 pounds and I came off. Now I need you to teach me how to eat.
Yeah, gotta get ahead of it.
That's the wrong time to come and do it. Right. So we're here to help you, guide you, and allow you to be successful in your nutrition and training plans. So come here, come listen, share this video. We really want to kind of we're making these videos not because of like we need more clientele or something like that. We're making these videos because, like I said in the first video, there's lots of bad information, and we want to educate you guys and get you to understand what is really happening and how you can utilize these tools to be successful long term.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.